On this episode of Oliver North's America, former U.S. Senator Jim DeMint on how to deal with the very worst things that can happen to you in this life. Welcome to this edition of My America. I'm Oliver North. Our guest today, former South Carolina U.S. Senator Jim DeMint. He was in the advertising and marketing business, had his own company for 15 years, and in 1998, he was elected to the U.S. House of Representatives and to the U.S. Senate in 2004. He was instrumental in creating health savings accounts, eliminating earmarks, and stopping an amnesty bill for illegal immigrants. Sound familiar? It's right out of the headlines. Senator DeMint started the Senate Conservative Fund, and in 2017, he founded the Conservative Partnership Institute. He's authored 8 books, and his newest book, Satan's Dare, right there, is just out. It's available now. Great to be with you again. Thanks for joining us today.
Ollie, thank you. It's been great to be in friendship with you for years. I appreciate so many of the things you've done, and thanks for giving me a chance to talk about something that's a little outside of politics.
Yes, and well, it needs to be in politics because
yes,
Lord knows. This is a great read. I picked it up this past weekend, a little bit early, because you sent, full disclosure, friends, this book is published by my publishing company, Fidelis Publishing, okay? And I wanted this because, A, it's a novel, and it's a unique way of giving a message of faith to the American people. So why did you pick a novel? Because I've done the same thing.
Well, actually, your great editor, Gary Terescito, we've been working on this for many years, and I tried to write it as a nonfiction. It was just too much in the weeds, and Gary suggested that we just build a great story with characters so that we could all see ourselves in what's happening. Because we all go through tragedy and suffering. We all ask questions of, did God create the earth? Is the Bible true? What's my reason for being here? All these things make a lot more sense if you see characters living them out in a kind of real world situations. And Ollie, the kind of the basic theme of the book is you've got 2 pastors who go through great tragedy. One of them becomes the world's most famous atheist. The other one clings to his faith, argues with God, but because of love of his wife and family, he comes back, and these 2 end up in a debate, talking about science, talking about the Bible. And Ollie, the reason this is relevant to what I've been doing for a long time, and you've been talking about in a lot of ways, is what we deal with in Washington and politics are just symptoms of problems. And I believe if Christians read this book, it'll confirm their faith. If skeptics read it, I believe it'll challenge them to search for answers. Because where we are today is we've forgotten that all of Western civilization, and particularly America, were built on Judeo-Christian ideas that come straight from the Bible. All of this began with the life of Jesus. And while folks maybe want to set all this aside, it is the foundation of everything that makes this country great. And we're trying to erase that from our history right now, Ollie. And while this is a novel with characters, which I think it will be very meaningful to individuals, it also has huge implications to our political system.
It's spot on, brother. I literally started this past weekend. I used your book as procrastination for my next book because I'm really supposed to be working. I couldn't put it down. I'm curious, where did the title, Satan's Dare, where'd that come from?
Well, it comes from the first chapter of Job. And that chapter, and I've never liked it, Satan is talking to God. And God says, what about my servant Job? He's a righteous man. And Satan says, is he righteous for nothing? You have blessed him and given him everything that anyone could want. If you take his blessings away, he'll curse you and follow me. And one of the theories of the book is that Job is kind of describing why we all have to go through this world. Satan is demanding justice, just as he demanded to sift Peter and all of the disciples. And so Satan is daring God. If he doesn't bless Ollie, if he doesn't bless DeMint, we won't follow him. And what the book essentially says is that when we praise God and we pray and we come together as believers in the middle of suffering and pain, tragedy, we're proving Satan wrong, we're proving God right, and we're winning the battle, which is essentially the war in heaven between God and Satan. So it's in some ways a complicated theology. I think a lot of Bible scholars won't like it because we discuss a lot of what does the Bible mean there? Could it mean something different? And a lot of scholars are fixed in their ways, but I think it'll challenge everyone who reads it.
I'll tell you, I see a great movie on this. There's several things that are up because of COVID. People have spent a lot of time on things that they might not have taken a chance to look at. By the way, friends, you don't have to have COVID to understand what Jim just said about the title of this book. Every one of us have been through some kind of stress, some of it not nearly as bad as what happens to the protagonist in this story. And I agree with you, Jim. I guess it is controversial. You ask questions and discuss theories that are likely to offend some Christians and certainly most atheists because of where I see this book heading. But I'm not worried about making people angry. Are you?
No, I've been doing it for a long time up here, and I found you really have to push. Jesus didn't like the religious leaders. Because they missed the whole point. And I think we, as Christians, if we don't ask questions and debate and discuss things, and actually, is there alignment between science and what we believe? As Josh McDowell said, our heart cannot rejoice in what our mind doesn't accept. And one of the ideas in the book is we've compartmentalized where we teach our children that actually they're accidents who evolved. And then on Sunday, we tell them God is great and created the earth. And we don't try to reconcile what really happened. But I think science has proved that there has to be a God. And that's what's in the book. If people read it, they'll realize that while we may not have all the answers, it's pretty clear this is all too complicated to have happened by accident.
It sure is. Give us a sense for why it's so important for Christians to ask the kinds of questions you've got in this book.
Yeah. I think a lot of people are afraid to ask questions about the Bible and in apparent contradictions with science because they're afraid there are no answers. They're afraid if they ask questions, that it'll weaken their faith. What I found, Ollie, if I dig in and ask questions, read the Bible for myself, and it confirms my faith. Even when I'm not sure after studying the Bible, was the earth created in 6 real days or 6 real periods, or was it done in a different way? What I know after all of this searching is God did create this earth, and he created us for a purpose. I may not have all the answers, but I have a lot more answers now and a lot more confidence in what I believe if I just search and read. And I think people will see that in this story, and as people search and ask questions, because in a court of law, Ollie, you often hear that if you find the motives, you'll find the truth. And in this book, we ask, what is God's motive? What is the reason that the children of God would have to go through this mess of a physical world where there's tragedy and there's always death? What's the reason for that? And why is Jesus so important? Why is his blood important? And we don't ask these questions and dig deep in the church most of the time. And the atheist in this story, Ollie, he says most Christians just have a Santa Claus God. They want to believe he's real, but they know he's not. And that's what I see in our country today. America's declining because the Christian church is declining, and the Christian church is declining because it's become unmoored from truth. They're afraid to teach the Bible as truth, and that is our only message from God today. You don't see pastors teaching biblical morality. I actually heard a pastor say that on Easter Sunday one time, and this was in a Presbyterian church, that it's not so important that the resurrection was true. It's just important that you believe it. And that's what we see today is people think that what they believe is true. If you believe you're a woman, you're a woman. That's arrogant and it's crazy. It's illogical. What we believe doesn't change what's true. What we believe about reality doesn't change reality. So we need to know what's true. And that's what this book, Satan's Dare, is about, Ali. It's about finding the truth and understanding God's motives and his character. And it relates to our country because, like it says in Psalms 11, if the foundations are removed, what will the righteous do? And that's what we see happening now in America is all the foundations, Judeo-Christian values and the biblical concepts. I mean, from the Bible comes rule of law, it comes absolute truth, compassion, charity, hard work, self-reliance. All the things we take for granted in America are biblical ideas that we are sweeping aside in America today.
Well, brother, if people are going to come back to what the founders of this country believed in, this is a great way to start. You can get this book on Amazon. You can get this book in any good bookstore. My dear friend Jim DeMint has written a great book. You need to get it. Jim, thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for your publishing company and our great friend Gary Teresito. It's great to have people to work with like you've got.
You've blessed us all, brother. Thank you.
Yeah.
Friends, if this has been informative, helpful, or encouraging, comment and let me know what you think. And until next time, remember, Semper Fidelis is more than a slogan for U.S. Marines. Always faithful is a way of life.